Hello everyone, this is Taylor with Gorge Anglers in Canyon City, Colorado, the oldest fly shop and fly fishing guide service and only Orvis endorsed outfitter on the entire Arkansas River Basin. Thanks so much for viewing today. We're moving into the last week of April here in this 2018 spring fishing season, and things really couldn't be better. The river's in fantastic condition, lower than average right now, even with our contributing release out of Twin Lakes. Flow rate is right under 300 CFS in Salida and just over 300 CFS at the Wellsville gauge as well as Canyon City gauges. However, wading couldn't be easier. Access is so easy. Clarity's been excellent. We have had some moisture, thankfully, here the last 3 or 4 days, so hopefully bringing fire danger down a little bit here this spring. And it looks like we've moved through a period of heavier wind here in the early spring. Forecast for the next 10 days to 2 weeks looks to be phenomenal. Highs in the 60s and 70s, an afternoon, a slight chance of afternoon rain here and there. Nothing crazy, really no thunderstorms in the forecast, so we should maintain fantastic conditions here, potentially all the way up to runoff in late May. Right now also, snowpack is right at around 60% of average. Two of our important snowfields, Brumley and Fremont, are looking fairly solid, so that's good. And we do have a lot of water in storage, so we should have plenty of water for the season. It will be a lower than average water year for sure. We know that at this point in time, but we should have enough water to contribute plenty of release into the river, keep the water temp cooler through those hot summer months, in late June, July, and August. Also will be great for floating, wading, so on and so forth. One of the things though that we pay attention to as far as when we try to forecast, that runoff may hit the river is low level snow. And right now there is hardly any low level snow. Below timberline, it is pretty dry. So even with this last little storm, that helped a little bit, but it had been so dry that a lot of that snow absorbed into the ground, and there's really not a whole lot left over below timber. So we do forecast, and many of our water engineers forecast that we may not see true runoff conditions until at least the last week of May, if not the first week of June. Of course, that could all change. Things are very fluid, obviously, and there are a ton of variables, but we should be really, really safe to have some fantastic conditions through the third week of May for those of you kind of planning out a little bit further. As for now, we don't see these great conditions that we have right now changing here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It is as good as it gets for the wading angler out there right now. And so we've been having a lot of fun with that. What we saw last week is a huge upturn in caddis activity around the first 2 days of the week, just prior to tax day, which we say every year. This is a tax day hatch. That's when it starts. If you wait till Mother's Day, many times you could miss the heavy activity. Just like clockwork, every year right around the 14th, 15th, 16th, we see a heavy hatch in Canyon City. Same was true. It started around the 14th. We saw a big hatch. We saw another big hatch on the 15th. And that kind of progressed for 2 or 3 days, and then we saw a little bit of a cool down in the weather, and so that things kind of slowed this last weekend. We did see some relatively large hatches in Lower Bighorn and some localized hatches even here yesterday in the Middle Bighorn Canyon section around Texas Creek. We forecast this week to be a huge caddis week. So the last week of April and the first week of May are typically on, historically great caddis weeks. When we look back in our historic ledgers, our guide ledgers, we see heavy caddis activity pretty much year in, year out on those 2 weeks. So we expect, especially with the weather, the forecast here, and beautiful conditions, slight wind, warm conditions, we should see a lot of caddis here this week. Yet to be seen exactly where the big hatches are, because like I said, we're coming out of a cold weekend. So we'll keep you tuned in on that within our actual daily text reports below this video on our fishing reports page. However, just come in, if you're coming, in the next 2-3 weeks, just expect to have good caddis activity in the afternoons, especially potentially some egg layer activity in the morning, especially in the evening. Don't forget your BWO life cycle, because there have been a lot of BWOs out there as well, and that will continue up until runoff. We've had some excellent days on stonefly nymphs still. Fish are just chowing down on stonefly nymphs, and they're very, very active crawlers right now still. Focus on all of those things, put it all together, and you'll be extremely productive out there, assuming conditions are right and you're fishing the right water depth at the right time of day. We should have, as long as things maintain, we should have some great dry fly activity within the caddis life cycle, as well as the BWO life cycle here, all the way up to runoff in late May. Streamer activity is really starting to kick on as well, and we've had a lot of fun with that. And typically, a major driver is that caddis pupation. That emergent activity really gets fish keyed on movement, and caddis, they really move hard to the surface when they're emerging. So fish are really kind of, in the afternoons, they're really willing to look at a streamer on the swing. And that's been a lot of fun, especially if you want to look at it tagging a bigger fish. That's the way to go. So we're having just a great time out there. Our guides are having just gangbuster days out there. If you're interested in learning the river more, learning more about the caddis activity and the blueing stuff, just putting it all together, do highly recommend you hire a guide. And we have a few days available left here this spring prior to runoff, getting to be pretty booked up, but that's a great way to learn. Let's quickly just jump over to the fly cases and take a peek at some key patterns for us. Of course, there are many different patterns that are productive in addition to what we're going to show you, but let's try to show you a few patterns to just kind of have an idea of what's going on. And we have over 900 different unique patterns here in our fly shop in these cases behind me, so there's a lot to choose from, but we try to make it a little bit more simple for folks. Let's take a quick peek at flies here and the life cycles that we just talked about, and hopefully that will be helpful. Okay, folks, so we're back here at the fly cases, and this is a wide view of what's representative for kind of what we are keying in on here for the next several weeks, really all the way up to runoff. You can see we've got a good sample of stoneflies, BWO life cycle, and caddis life cycle in front of us. These are all going to be very key for your success that you have at least some of all of this moving forward. So let's start with the stoneflies here. We've got the wired stonefly up top here, a great breadwinner, a little bit larger profile. Tungsten Goldie second here down the list. Just a great little soft tackle style stone that's been very productive. The Poxyback stone from Mike Mercer, a little bit slider profile stonefly, has been excellent for us here as of late. John Barr's tongue teaser, a little bit darker colored stonefly that has been very productive in the afternoons for us. A newer pattern, the Rolling Stone, in that jet black color, especially in heavier water, riffles, etc. That's been a great producer for our guides. And then we've got a cranefly larva, and we're starting to see some craneflies hatching out there, just a few bugs on the water, but they are continuing to eat cranefly larvae throughout the water column. Then let's move over to our BWOs, and starting with our nymph, this is a purple 2-bit hooker here at the top. That's a newer color. It's got a red trigger bead in the thorax. Great little fly. Pocket water Baetis, one of our standbys, tried and true, just an excellent pattern, especially on the substrate, a good crawling pattern. Moving to the emerger, your blue dun emerger, that's Shay Gunkel's pattern, excellent representation, has a little glass bead in the thorax. Soft tackle emerger, this is a different rendition of an RS2. It's got a little bit more going on in the wing case area, been very productive for us, especially during hatches. Your CDC Comparadun, excellent dry fly representation. And then your low water Baetis, one of my favorites, especially for picky fish during BWO hatches. Moving on to our caddis, the larval stage, that's your nymph stage, going to be on the substrate and in the drift also, say early morning through mid-morning. This is our bottom roller, Psycho Ryko. Fantastic little caddis larva there. Our true breadwinner on our river, the Larry Kingery's metallic caddis larva, always produces really well. Moving into our caddis pupa, which is the emergent stage, we've got our nitro caddis. This is one of our favorites, tied on a competition hook, 24.99 SP with a tungsten bead, great pattern. Ken Morsh's hot wire caddis, standby, just fishes really well with a wire body. Juan Ramirez, one of our guides, his kryptonite. This is a fantastic little caddis pupa that continues to produce so well during the Baraki hatch. You always need a non-weighted pupa as well. This is John Barr's graphic caddis, but we have a lot of different patterns to choose from to fish in the film beneath a caddis dry if you wish. Hatch matching caddis, the Drangler's peacock body black caddis, fantastic fly. Your missing link, one of our favorites, size 14 and 16. Egg layer, this is called the Mother's Day caddis with that little green trigger bead on the tail. Fantastic egg layer, that's for those females coming back to the water in the morning and the evening or any low light time period. A new pattern that we just are in love with as an indicator dry or as an egg layer, the front end loader. Just a fantastic fly. Purple body, easy to see, high vis, great as an indicator, like I said, or to fish on its own as an egg layer. And then don't forget your spent caddis. Spent caddis kind of pile up in the foam lines and in eddies, etc. It's basically just what's left of the female caddis or the male caddis that's fallen out of the willows into the water. And this is a CDC spent here. We like to fish that, especially in the evenings, maybe behind an egg layer. A lot of fun to fish. Let's look at a few streamers as well, just kind of venture over to the streamer case. We've got a lot to choose from, but I like to go up front with something relatively large to get their attention, like a baby gonga, that's fantastic. Lead fly, we can do those in various colors. I like olive and black right now. Other good flies, the Dirty Hippie for a lead fly is great. Olive, black, tan. This is a great brown trout imitation and kind of that tan color. And then I like to run smaller trailer flies, something a little bit less obtrusive. I really like Takahashi's mini minnow as a trailer, or a thin mint or a junior mint as a trailer. Those are excellent. Also, your standard woolly boogers can produce well from time to time. Slump busters also. So hopefully this information's been helpful to you as you prepare for fishing here in late April and May in what is truly spring prime time on the Arkansas River. And obviously the Arkansas River is a primary fishery in the state of Colorado during this time period. People are coming from all over the U.S. and Europe to come fish here during the caddis time period, the heavy BWO hatch time period, and just overall, just a great time to come enjoy the river. Like I said earlier, conditions are just perfect. Access is easy, wading's easy if you like to float. We've got enough water to do it, although it's a bit technical. But moving forward, we just forecast a phenomenal upcoming 3 to 4 weeks remaining in the season. And like I said, we should have fantastic fishing and conditions through the 3rd week of May based on the minimal amount of low-level snow right now on our basin. So we look forward to seeing you. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us toll free, 888-994-6743, extension 1 for the fly shop, extension 2 for the guide office if you'd like to inquire about availability for a guided trip. And you can always reach us at info@royalgorgeanglers.com. Thanks so much for viewing. Again, this is Taylor with Royal Gorge Anglers, the oldest fly shop and fly fishing guide service on the Arkansas River and only Orvis endorsed outfitter on the basin. We hope to see you in the fly shop on your way up the river here. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Have a fantastic day on the water.